What's up, YouTube? Jericho here. It's not too often that you're going to get two excited, made for YouTube videos in one day, but today has been a massive news day, and here we are. So let's get into it. Looking to hopefully ease some of the pain from the announcement earlier today that the Dragonflight Evoker won't be playable on live until Phase 2 of the Dragonflight pre-patch event hits on November 15th, Blizzard just pushed the latest round of changes to the Dragonflight beta, and what's included is, and this is not clickbait, massive news for Evoker. So a few days ago, I wrote this feedback post on the beta forums with my main wishlist for Devastation Evoker as we go into the full Dragonflight release. And my number one biggest issue with the spec as it plays on beta right now is easily its lack of survivability, both active and passive. I mentioned here that there have been lots of great ideas in the community, from passives to mitigation while empowering or using deep breath to additional active options. Just something would be nice. Well, guys, I've rounded up the list here of all of the changes that we've found on the Dragonflight beta in this new build, and lo and behold, buffs to defensives and survivability across the board. Blizzard is listening to community feedback for this class, and I could not be more excited. So, without further ado, here we go. Evoker now has a new baseline passive ability called Tempered Scales. Don't worry, the old Tempered Scales passive has been renamed. This new passive straight up increases your passive armor by 75%. Now, armor scales in a non-linear fashion, so it's not always the most intuitive effect to calculate, but this effect is increasing my physical damage reduction on beta from roughly 23 to 34%. This results in roughly 14% less damage taken from physical sources than before. So for a straight passive buff to survivability, this is excellent news with respect to physical attacks from mobs in raids and dungeons, as well as PvP. Moving on to active survivability, Devastation is seeing a whole host of buffs to its various defensives and healing options. Living Flame Healing has been buffed by 20% just for Devastation, bolstering the spec's ability to keep itself alive through self-healing. Now, Preservation did not get the same buff, but it did see a 20% buff to Living Flame on the flip side. Deep Breath now removes all root effects when cast, and this is a big one, because all too often, I would stand inside a root spamming Deep Breath expecting it to clear movement CC as if it were dispersion, but I would just instead sit there like a dummy. This is a really nice improvement to the spell's functionality and gives a possible out now while rooted. In terms of class talents, this next one is a big one. Obsidian Scales has been completely reworked. Obsidian Scales now reads, on a 1.5 minute cooldown, reinforce your scales, reducing damage taken by 30%, and it lasts for 12 seconds. Now, Obsidian Scales is basically now a 30% damage reduction ability, which is a buff to the magic defensive component considerably, while making this physical component much more reliable by not relying on armor mechanics. So, notably now, if you're looking very carefully, you might also notice something interesting in that screenshot, and that's that it says max 2 charges. This is because Obsidian Bulwark has also been reworked, and now grants a second charge to Obsidian Scales. I really like this change, because it's still faithful to the idea of having this defensive available more often, but this makes the ability quite flexible, giving at minimum an extra use during a fight, and also feels reasonably optional to take compared to before, with the limited options available in the tree. So overall, good changes. Next is Panacea, which is a node that we generally take in order to path down to the bottom right part of the tree, and it's had its effect straight up doubled, buffed by 100%. While this is not necessarily a huge self-heal in itself, still buffing for only about 10% of your max health on current beta, maybe a little more, it's certainly not as bad as a single global, or it's certainly not bad as a single global on a 30-second cooldown, with no additional resource cost, that also heals 3 to 5 targets in its radius. This is a really nice buff overall to a talent that we're just taking anyway for the most part. Now, Regenerative Magic has also had its effect buffed by 50%, now mirroring 15% of your chosen healers healing onto you while you're below 50% health. I have to admit, this particular buff still doesn't seem quite enough, especially since Source of Magic is not looking particularly attractive for Devastation at the moment, but it's still a step in the right direction, so I can't complain too much. Now, Renewing Blaze has been buffed considerably, and this is reducing the time to heal back from 14 seconds to 8 seconds. I want to be clear about this one. This doesn't magically make this spell amazing at something that it's not. It's still quite limited in its ability to actually keep you alive from big hits of damage, and it's much more situational than a traditional panic heal. But that said, hopefully the changes to other parts of the survivability kit, between Tempered Scales, Living Flame, Panacea Self-Healing, and of course the newly reworked Obsidian Scales, should help more with that aspect. Worth noting as well that improving self-healing makes the Renewing Blaze choice option Foci of Life somewhat more attractive as well, as you now have this effect active for more of the Renewing Blaze healing, as well as any other healing effects that you might receive from yourself or allies. So overall, this spell is still a bit lukewarm for me, but the buff is great, and the spell will definitely see use, so no issues there. Before we go on to the rest of the changes, I just want to say overall that I'm so thoroughly pleased that Blizzard has taken note of the spec's survivability concerns and made some great changes at the class and spec level to address them. Now, I do personally think the spec is still going to be a little bit on the squishier side in terms of its ability to just stand still and cast in any sort of outgoing damage, you know, like a Warlock, for example, might be able to. But this is absolutely a welcome step to seeing the spec be viable in endgame content in Dragonflight. So some last quick notes in this beta build include a quick change to Snapfire. And what we see here is that they've increased the duration of the buff from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. Now, this doesn't affect the actual Firestorm spell that gets cast. This is just the duration of the proc buff. And this gives you more time and flexibility to actually make use of this effect, let's say while you're running between packs in M+. So overall, a nice tweak. That's well appreciated. And finally, 2 huge bug fixes that I've been complaining about have now been fixed. So while this isn't quite everything, we've still got a few bugs left to go. These ones were definitely bugging me, and I'm glad to see them addressed. The 2-piece Empower Crit Strike bug essentially just had the 2-piece Empower spells gain 5% crit chance not working properly, and that's now been fixed, so that's excellent. And the 4-piece now properly extends Bloodlust past 40 seconds when it activates, which it wasn't doing before. So again, absolutely welcome bug fix there as well. Finally, we've got some great news about some nice Dragonriding changes, including some changes to the Soar ability. So I'll read this verbatim. Hello, Dragon Riders and Drakthir. We've been hearing a lot of feedback from players that Soar feels never worth using, especially as they progress through the Dragonriding skill track. While we don't want them to feel identical, we do want to bring them closer together. We want players to feel like soaring in the Dragon Isles is a powerful option that embodies the fantasy of flying as a Drakthir. All the while, we also want Dragonriding to have unique benefits. We're making some of the changes with the next build that are aimed towards these goals. The Dragonriding skill track will now confer some benefits to Drakthir Soar, while the Drakthir player is inside the Dragon Isles. Drake and Rider training has been renamed to Take the Skies, and also increases Soar's max speed to match that of the Dragon Isles Drakes. Dynamic Stretching, Restorative Travels, Yearning for the Sky each reduce the cooldown of Soar by 40 seconds, reducing it to 2 minutes with all of these traits. Together with Drakthir's Familiar Skies, this results in a possible 1-minute cooldown. Winds of the Isles, once unlocked, also affects Soar. So, thank you all for soaring with us on this journey. Also, including in Dragonriding racing updates, we have the following callouts. Gold and Silver times have been updated for advanced courses. You can now change mounts during race start, cooldowns, and not fail the race. Being a passenger and quickly jumping between different riders using ride-alongs should no longer remove your whelp visual. And you can now use all of your Dragonriding abilities during races. Fantastic. So, very quickly, before we wrap up, I do want to note this one line at the top that reads, while we want players to feel like soaring in the... while we don't want them to feel identical, ultimately, we do want to bring them closer together. We want players to feel like soaring in the Dragon Isles is a powerful option, but they do want Dragonriding to have unique benefits. So, it sounds to me like they're not willing to make Soar a 100% complete replacement for Dragonriding. And unfortunately, to those who were hoping for that, I really don't think that's going to happen, at least at launch. I am personally excited for these changes, and who knows, we might get something down the road that changes this up, so look forward to it. Overall, guys, I think that's going to do it for this video. I'm super excited about the direction that they're taking Devastation Evoker before release, and most importantly, they're listening to feedback, which is absolutely fantastic to see. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. My analytics page here says that only 15.3% of my channel viewers are subscribers, and you know what? Well, I'm happy that this chart now actually adds to 100%. I definitely appreciate the help and support on my little journey to 1,000 subs. Your one sub will make a big difference. Do also check out my Devastation Evoker guide, linked in the description below. If you haven't already, it covers absolutely everything I know about Devastation, including the latest news, talent builds, mechanics, interactions, and so much more. I will also have links in the video description to my Twitch channel where I stream WoW stuff, my Twitter, where I tweet about coffee and WoW stuff, and my community Discord, where you can honestly ping me to ask all manner of ridiculous questions. I won't judge. And I think that's it for now. Until next time, have a good one.